At this point, we will now turn to the official opposition for the first round of questions for 7.5 minutes. Who would like to begin? MPP French.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you to both ministers for joining us this morning. It's always an appreciated opportunity when we can talk about underserved and unserved areas when it comes to broadband and infrastructure needs. Side note, I'm looking forward to finding out which communities have been successful in their ICON and connectivity applications, Minister. So I'll wait with bated breath, as will many of the communities. I would like to focus in on Schedule 3. While I appreciate the Minister's sort of infomercial for ministerial superpowers and minister zoning orders, I would not be interested in debating that. My questions are about the need for Schedule 3. It exempts those ministerial zoning orders from the requirement to be consistent with the Provincial Policy Statement. And I would like to ask the Minister, either of them, what the justification for that could be when the Provincial Policy Statement under the Planning Act has always taken Ontario's best interest to heart. So why the need to override that, overrule, and do away with that?
Well, first of all, thanks, Chair, through you to the member. I want to thank her for her question. As I said earlier, the ministerial zoning order process puts municipalities in the driver's seat, not the province. And again, I want to reiterate that every single minister zoning order that I've done on non-provincially owned land has been at the request of the municipality.
Right.
I also, to answer your question, MZOs are a tool that our government uses to get critical local projects that people rely on located outside the Greenbelt moving faster. And this is the tool that obviously, when you're trying to create 3,700 long-term care beds where the previous
Minister, with all due respect, I did listen attentively to what you had said, and what I'm asking specifically about is for Schedule 3 is completely unrelated to broadband expansion, yet here we find ourselves with a broadband bill, and this is a schedule that retroactively kind of changes the law, changes the framework, so that the government can use, as you're saying, a tool. This is a jackhammer to put aside those the provincial policy statement. I'm wondering why that's needed when we've gotten to this point. Protected lands, and I see your green background there, but I'm going to need more than that. Protected lands that have been protected should be protected, and this section says, just kidding, never mind, it used to be protected, now it's not. Why?
Well, first of all, thanks again for the question. Broadband is critical infrastructure. MZOs are helping accelerate other critical infrastructure projects in local ridings. Again, it's done at the request of the local municipality. And we are accelerating, very important projects for long-term care, Made in Ontario PPE plant, affordable and supportive housing projects. There are so many projects that this tool is being used, and it's not new. This is something that's been around since the early 70s.
Sorry, my apologies. Just wanted to remind all members not to speak over the presenters when they're speaking. I would just maybe...
Chair, with all due respect,
yes?
I hear you, but the question that I've asked twice has not been answered about the use of Schedule 3.
So perhaps we should let the Minister answer the question.
Again, Chair, thank you so much. Our proposed changes, will facilitate and provide certainty for these projects. But let's not forget that we write the provincial policy statement. We consult widely through our municipal partners on the PPS. But there are opportunities for the government to use this tool to work as our partners. And again, I want to remind the member, municipalities are our partners. We work collaboratively with them when we create the provincial policy statement. We work collaboratively when we review policy statements like the growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe. We consult with them when we're reviewing policies on the Greenbelt. Municipalities are a key partner for our government moving forward and presently.
Thank you. the Association for Municipalities of Ontario, I know the minister is well acquainted. I don't have to tell him anything about AMO. But even AMO had wondered about the change here with the provincial policy statement with, and I don't have their words in front of me, but it's on record that that they feel that the protections of the provincial policy statement have served Ontario well. So I would ask the Minister of Infrastructure, who lives in a beautiful part of the world, as many of us do, but with blue-green algae challenges. I'm sure she knows well the challenges with nutrient pollution, blue-green algae, and the need for wetlands. So when we've lost about 75% of our wetlands, I wonder, can the Minister tell me if that's not enough, too much, or just the right amount of wetlands that we've lost, and how she feels about Schedule 3 that would allow the government to run roughshod over protected areas in the future?
Well, thank you very much for the interesting question. As Minister Clark, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, has said, no MZO is done without the council, local council, approving the developments. In this case, many times Broadband develops it. Long-term care, affordable housing. Mr. Clark has mentioned these accordingly. So I work very closely with all my local councils. I work very closely with all of my environmental groups, with my conservation authorities, and very thoughtful discussions of what's important for our communities.
1 minute left.
As was said, none of the MZO, the ministerial zoning orders, are done without the local council resolution asking the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
This section, Schedule 3, is not about the wonders of MZOs. It's about the ability to retroactively go back and say that protected areas are no longer need to be deemed protected. And the eloquent Minister of Natural Resources and Forestry said if we didn't like it, we could just pretend it wasn't there. Does this minister also wish it wasn't there so we could indeed talk about broadband?
Well, I believe.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, listen. I believe that
That's
from someone who represents a rural riding.
My apologies, Minister. That's all the time that we have for this round, but perhaps you could continue answering that question in the next round. We'll now turn to the official opposition. Who would like to begin? MPP French.
Thank you. I appreciate having another kick at the can here about Schedule 3, and my concerns are about the bad potential planning that will result, that this enables, rather, putting people and property and the environment at risk if we have the ability to run roughshod over what used to be protected areas, still deemed protected, but that no longer matters as per Schedule 3. My question, I guess, is about how the ministers will respond to the concerns from the agricultural communities, to the environmental folks, to just, community members and neighbors who want to ensure that protections are in place, that they're not only wetlands, but that their green spaces will indeed be protected, because a schedule like this says that it doesn't have to be under certain circumstances. So my question is about that, and further to that, does Schedule 3, will it restrict, if it's removed from the bill, would there be any restrictions on broadband expansion? If Schedule 3 didn't exist, does it affect broadband in any way?
So I can talk about my section of the bill. The infrastructure piece, again, when a minister's zoning order is requested by a local community, it's basically to facilitate a priority project. So again, we require the council resolution. We would do our due diligence. The legislation specifically indicates that my section of the bill does not take place in the Greenbelt. So the Greenbelt is is a protected area as part of Schedule 3. And again, the local municipality is in the driver's seat. We value our municipal partners. We don't classify them, as some members of the opposition categorize, as donors or insiders. Municipalities are partners, so we want to make sure that we do our due diligence once they pick a priority project, no matter what it is. And I don't dictate to municipalities what priority project they're asking an MZO for. That rests with their decision.
Okay. Thank you, Minister. I'm wondering, though, when the Minister talks about due diligence in the case of Duffins Creek, I'm wondering why the provincial government didn't consult with Williams Treaty First Nations in that case, or that's my understanding. But I would like to know, so further to this, can you describe any situation where you would want to ignore the provincial policy statement? And I wonder if the government really does understand how outraged the community in that neck of the woods around Duffins Creek has been. And I remember when the PC members used to rage against the backroom deals with the Liberals. So it's turnabout is fair play, I guess. But Minister?
Well, again, I want to go back to the fact that particular MZO was not only requested by resolution by the City of Pickering, it was also supported by the region of Durham. Our municipal partners, I know, value the relationship with Indigenous partners. This change in Schedule 3 does not affect the Crown's duty to consult, our duty to consult obligations. We welcome all input from Indigenous communities on the proposed changes to the Planning Act within Schedule 3.
Thank you, and I'm going to pass my time to MPP Glover. I know had a quick question.
MPP Glover, you have just over 2 minutes. Nope. MPP Glover, you're on mute. We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. My question is to the Minister of Municipal Affairs. So in December 2020, the government passed Bill 229, which stripped the conservation authorities of their power to protect wetlands. And at the time, the former Toronto mayor and former Conservative MP, David Crombie, and 6 other members of the Greenbelt Council resigned in protest. And David Crombie said that this bill will cut the heart out of watershed planning, which is vital to environmental planning in the province of Ontario. Then just a few days ago, actually, maybe last week it was, there was a release of a provincial policy about the provincial policy statement saying that there was moderate to high risk that the MZO issued for Duffins Creek could be found to have contravened the provincial policy statement, and that the province faces the risk of further legal challenges. So this bill here, Bill 257, now changes the law retroactively.
1 minute left.
In what seems to be an act to try to make the MZO on Duffins Creek legal under the PPS. Why is the government taking such extreme measures, including changes in laws retroactively, in order to pave over wetlands?
Well, first of all, thanks again for the question. On your first statement about Mr. Crombie, I value, obviously, Mr. Crombie and the other members of the Greenbelt Council that decided to do other things. I wish them well. They provided the government with very valuable, comments. I've been very clear, both with the past and present members of the Greenbelt Council, that we're not going to allow development in the Greenbelt. In our last budget, we committed to a consultation which will grow the size and quality of the Greenbelt for future generations, and I invite all the MPPs to participate in our consultation.
Thank you very much. We'll now turn to the independent Green Party member.